Heyo everyone, Zian over here from Nintendo Life. And you know what time of the year it is? I'm pretty sure last time I checked my mother watch, it said it was June. And around this time, we're normally supposed to have a Nintendo Direct, but it's the middle of June now, and we still don't have a Direct. But you know what? That is not entirely a problem. So to talk all about why that isn't an issue, I'm joined by the fantastic Kate Gray.
Hi, that's me.
It is. It's you. We haven't had you on in a while, so it's good. It's good to have you back. It really is.
I'm still here. I've not died.
Good. Well, another person that I know, in fact, that is alive and well is Felix.
Yeah, I'm also not
Hooray.
dead. I don't know why I would be. I was like literally in here like 2 days ago.
I killed you in London. That's why.
Oh no.
I know.
Pushed you off Big Ben.
Yeah.
Felix to Electric Bungalow.
Felix, would you like to go see the top of the Eiffel Tower with me?
That's not London, Sion.
Well, that's true. Just close enough for me though. Okay, so obviously it's at the time of recording, it's June 17th, and we don't have a Nintendo Direct. There were lots of rumors, ideas that we would have had one like maybe the 15th or the 14th or the 16th. You know, everyone had their own thoughts, but we're past that now, and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. But what we did have were a ton of different still video game showcases. There was Summer Games Fest or Summer Game Fest. I can't ever grasp the concept that it's not plural, it's just singular. Summer Game Fest. We had Day of the Devs, Humble Games showcase. There was the Guerrilla Collective. There were tons of different showcases, and within those were a ton of different Switch games. So today we're all kind of just hanging out to talk about some different Switch games that were announced or given release dates that may have flew under your radar that we're personally excited about, or that we might think that might grab your attention as well. Sure, like it sucks that we didn't get a Direct, but games were still announced, and that is what matters. I mean, of course, like I think we all...
It sucked that this year, like normally when E3 is happening and Nintendo refuses to acknowledge it, but then weirdly does a Nintendo Direct at the same time, it doesn't feel as disappointing when everything is not for Switch, because you're like, well, everything on the Direct will be for Switch. But this time there wasn't, something Nintendo specific. So you end up coming away being like, boy, that's a lot of Xbox games. And there's a lot less in like the general stuff. There's a lot less that's actually for Switch. Or they'll say something like coming to PC and consoles. And you're like, you don't mean that. You mean the big consoles.
You're totally right.
So that really limited the options.
Yeah. Part of me, I think, felt like on edge like all week as well. Like, I don't know about either of you two.
Waiting for like an announcement or
something. Yeah. It was just like, well, what if... I mean, I guess like we were kind of planning for it, so if it happened, we would have been okay. But it just was just...
I still think it would it will happen later. But I was really hoping it would be like around this time.
Yeah.
And now the time's not there, so now we're just hoping for next week or the week after.
Right.
Yeah, I was exhausted this week.
Oh,
I worked the weekend. I was like, I'll just cover the Wholesome Direct and maybe the Guerrilla Collective. Oh. And I ended up covering just the Wholesome Direct because there was like 100 games. I'm not even exaggerating. It was 100 games.
And were some of them coming to Switch, Kate?
Yeah, like most of them.
Let's talk about it.
And just so everyone knows, before we begin, in the description down below, we'll leave links to all of the different showcase rundowns so you can see exactly what Switch games were announced in what showcases. Kate and the rest of our team did a fantastic job compiling these lists, so well done. So I suppose I'll kick things off for us. This was a game that was announced during the Guerrilla Collective showcase. I think it's Sashingo, but it's basically Sashingo Learn Japanese with Photography.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that one, Kate? Or do you remember that one?
I did. I watched the whole Guerrilla Collective and ended up not covering it because I was sleepy. Yeah, I thought this looked really cool.
Ah, sweet. So basically what this is kind of like a first-person game where you get to explore this fictional Japanese city, but you're equipped with a camera. And all you do is you just take photos of things, and then basically a Polaroid will pop up of anything you take a photo of, and it will tell you exactly what it is in English and what it is in Japanese. And the whole game, the subtitle of it, is Learn Japanese with Photography. So the whole focus of the game is to teach like English speaking people how to learn Japanese.
Okay, I really like that.
Yeah, and like for me, I think a lot of people probably can relate to this, but like I've always wanted to learn Japanese, but I think it's always kind of been this like unattainable goal for me.
Daunting.
I think, yeah, very much so. Like I want to learn how to play piano or learn how to play guitar better, but it's things that like require such a time investment that I think like they always just kind of go on my like forever bucket list. But recently I downloaded Duolingo, and then I saw this game like get announced and was like, this is right up my alley. So like I think I don't know how, like I don't know if you'll be able to play Sashingo solely and learn the language entirely. It might
Probably
be more
not.
well,
Yeah. You'll be able to be like, that's a tree, and they'll be like, yes.
Yeah, that's a tid again, do.
yeah,
That was nothing. I have no idea what it said. I hope it wasn't anything.
just straight gibberish. I like that though. So the game does have more than that though too. There is like every photo that you take will go into an album, so that way you can go back and you can kind of like refresh yourself on things. There's also there's like a lessons section that goes through different greetings or days of the week, and there's more pages beyond just that, but those are the only examples that they showed in the trailer.
Yeah.
And you can also zoom in, like you can use the camera and you can zoom in on basically like any writing or like words that you see within the world, and it will give you the exact translation of what everything means. And then there's also like a way to test your skills. There's this mode called Find Mode, where the game gives you like it gives you a set amount of time to run around the city, and it gives you different words to find. And so basically you just run around and try to find as many of them as possible. And I don't know if there's going to be like a high score, like ranking system or like leaderboards or anything, but like I think it'd be super cool if they did at least like leaderboards that you could share with your friends. Because then, like, let's say hypothetically all three of us wanted to play, we could kind of use that leaderboard system to kind of incentivize like each other to continue playing. And I just think this is like a super creative game that I haven't seen anyone else do anything like it.
Very niche,
Yeah.
it's for English people to learn Japanese. I love it.
I mean, I can imagine that like people who own a Nintendo Switch are probably exactly the right audience for this game. Like,
very, very
do
true.
you want to play a
it
bunch of games? Well, here you go. Here's a game that'll help you play more games.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game isn't coming out to PlayStation or Xbox. It's like only PC and Nintendo Switch. So I think that's a very good choice by them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And right now, too, there isn't a release date, not even like a window. I think it's just slated for TBD, which I wish.
My least favorite window.
Hey, it could be tomorrow, though. It just depends on the devs.
Yeah.
True.
I had to choose between, while writing up a lot of these games, if I was going to use TBC, TBD, or TBA. I went with TBA for no particular reason. Because TBA, to be announced, TBC, to be confirmed, TBD, to be determined.
Ooh.
I don't know, they're all slightly different. That's a fun fact.
Is there a TBB?
There should be, shouldn't they? To complete the alphabet.
To be...
Benounced.
To be bananas? That's dumb. Who would like to go next?
I would like to go next.
Oh, Felix has a game.
Yes. Okay, I love this. It's so simplistic, but there's just some very charming about it. It's called Time Flies.
Oh,
yes.
I love this game, at least what it looks like. So basically, you're this fly and you have a set amount of seconds to do most amount of stuff because, a fly doesn't live very long. And let's say you take like the United States, for example, because at the start you can like choose where you're from. In the United States, I think the expectant life, like...
Oh, life expectancy, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, 77 years. So in the game, you get 77 seconds to do as much as possible in this little fly's life. For example, you can fly up to a lamp and go into it and collect coins, or you can go down to a coffee mug and actually die before the time runs out. You have this bucket list that you need to fill out before the timer goes out, and it looks like there's such a lot of things to do in this little time you have. Basically, you're actually just a pixel flying around that you control. And then sometimes, like, when you interact with stuff, it, like, zooms in. But it's, like, this really, really simplistic pixel art style that's, I don't know, the music and everything just seems like just a game for me. And I'm really excited to, like, try this game out.
Yeah. It reminds me of, like, my favorite Flash games. I was very, very much into Flash games. And, like, some of the weird creative stuff that you get in Flash games hasn't really been explored in, like, modern games that much. But this game and Tux and Fanny, which I really, really recommend. It's very weird and it's very similar to this. They sort of capture that feeling of, like, I'm 15 and I'm playing a weird game on Newgrounds and it's like 10 minutes long, but it's really interesting. Like, I think that's great.
The internet wins for just allowing things like this to exist and succeed, because, like, I feel like a game like this would never get released in, like, a retail setting. Like, you wouldn't be able to walk into, like, a Walmart or a I'm lacking a Boots. Isn't even I don't think they sell games there, from what I've been told, in Europe. But
No.
you wouldn't be able to walk into a store like that and pick up a game like this off the shelf. Maybe like a download code, I suppose, but not a physical copy. And it's cool to see, like, little ideas like this really grow into such I shouldn't say this is a massive project, but this is adorable and so precious, and it's nice to see that this is coming to Switch. That's so cool.
Really is. And that was my first game. So now we only have the wonderful Mr. Kate.
So okay, before I begin, I'm worried that I'm gonna do the thing where you guys are both like, look at this interesting game, look at this, and I'm like, this one has cows in it, and it's pink, and it's fluffy, because that's very much like my shortlist was, like, basically everything from the Wholesome Direct, where I was like, and on the one hand, I don't want to do that because I don't want people to be like, of course, Kate only enjoys playing farming games. I have other tastes. I just mostly watch.
Well, to be fair as well, we kind of threw, like, this whole discussion idea at you last minute too, and, like, you've had all your other things that you've been working on for the site, so no sweat. And Felix and I aren't going to hate on your pick either. But
and to be honest, like, my second thought was, well, you aren't going to pick the fluffy ones. Someone has to represent the fluffy games.
Very true.
Thank you for that, by the way. Not needed.
You're welcome.
But I'm glad you got it out there.
I'm just saying in advance, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I'm a little bit sorry. My first game is Puff Pals Island Skies, which even just from the title, you can tell it's real cute.
This sounds like a cash grab DS title, but I'm excited to see it.
So the awkward thing with Puff Pals is that it doesn't currently have, like, any footprint on the internet except for this Kickstarter.
Oh, I actually looked up this game on Kickstarter.
Oh yeah?
I love how this game looks.
It looks so cute. And, like, I've followed Puff Pals for a long time because they started off making plushies, and they still do, which are these sort of very round, very, like, sort of inflated almost versions of animals and sometimes carrots. And I've never bought one because they're really expensive, but, that's the goal. So to find out that
the life goal for Kate is to get a Puff Pals.
They have one that's a really big bee.
It looks very similar to Animal Crossing, like very similar. It does.
I mean, it is very much of that genre where it's like, you like Animal Crossing and Stardew, here's another game for you that you can just, like, binge and get all the animals. I know what you want, and it's right that I do want that. I will admit, though,
the carrots have faces. The carrots have legs. Sorry, go on. I'm so sorry.
No, it's adorable. And I think it looks really pretty, and it seems to be fairly far along, except that it says it's aiming to come out in 2025. So there is very little information about what this game actually is, and it makes me a little nervous because a lot of games that are sort of like, I'm gonna make the next Stardew Valley, sort of aim a little bit too high. They overpromise things. They're like, yeah, it's gonna have romance, it's gonna have fishing, foraging, it's gonna have a mini game, it's gonna have cooking, and you're like, whoa, that's a lot of things to do, and a lot of things to do well. So I mean, I want this game to come out, and at the moment I'm like, oh god, that's a lot of things that you're working on. But in the trailers, in the clips, it looks very cute.
It does, and it's pulled together really, really well too. Like just graphically, you know, you don't really notice. I feel like a lot of games like this try, to like pull off a unique and cute art style, but I feel like there's always just little hiccups in that regard.
Yeah,
I didn't really find anything to complain about in this, but Felix,
it's lovely.
Were you gonna say something too, Felix?
Just they were aiming for 75,000, and they are at $2.5 million pledged on Kickstarter. That's insane.
That's a lot of money.
Wow. So I guess you aren't the only one excited for this game.
Well, that also makes me nervous because the thing with Kickstarter is you say we need this much money to make and finish the game, and you're like, okay, great. If you get like, I don't know how many times that is more than what they asked for, but a lot. What do you spend it on? Do you make the game exponentially bigger? Well, then it'll take longer. So the initial product you pitched people is now a different product. Like, where do you put that money?
But you're totally right. Like, yeah, they'd almost have to like hire more people. But then even so, like you're bringing on more people, and that has to. Yeah. I mean, I imagine that complicates things. And
it seems like they're very shrewd about business. Like the Puff Pals people have been running a plush business for a long time, and they've been very good at it. Like. It doesn't come across as one of those like scrappy little Etsy plush makers. It's like an industry that they've created.
Wow.
So I think that they know what they're doing. I have faith. It's just that it makes me so nervous because it's so ambitious and they raised so much money that I'm like, oh God, I want the cute game. But it's going to take a while. It's cooking in the oven for the time being.
Well, fingers crossed. I still can't believe the Amori team is made, or that game is Omocat, which I remember like seeing them at events. Like I went to Anime Central in Chicago for years, and I still have like an Omocat business card in my drawer. But like the day that I learned Omocat, the like clothing artist like maker, made a video game, and it was fantastic. I was like, what? That they can't be the same people, right? And it's crazy. It's just, maybe it's even like a toy, like how a toy like worked on Earthbound, or composed the scripts for Earthbound, and he was not like, he wasn't a game maker, but it worked.
Yeah. I mean, having worked a little bit in game dev, I do know that people who aren't in games are sometimes the best hires, like getting film script writers to write a video game will actually bring in some really interesting perspectives. So it doesn't surprise me that people from really random industries are like, and I make video games now. I'm going to send you the big B.
Please do. I'll feature the big B in the video.
The big B.
Yay.
How big is it? Because $110 is a lot, but if it's massive, is there a specs?
I mean, it doesn't say.
Yeah, there's no specs. Oh, there's a 10-inch B is only $33. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Dang
wow,
it!
This is derailing. Come on.
This was also announced during the Guerrilla Collective, and comes out on the Switch on October 27th. It has a demo on Steam that I already played and really, really loved. And this is a game called Signalis. I don't think it's necessarily up either of your alleys, but I could be wrong. I could be very impressed, or surprised rather. So this is basically like a new sci-fi kind of like atmospheric survival horror game that plays like it was made for the PlayStation 1 or the N64, but without like the awful tank controls of like the Resident Evil games and Dino Crisis and Parasite Eve, but it looks like that. Like detail, like very low poly, except for it's at a higher resolution. So like there's just way more detail in the game and in the world. But basically you play as like this cyborg, or android, I guess. I don't know who uses the word cyborg anymore.
Cyborg.
I think that there is a difference between a cyborg and an android, but I can't remember what it is.
Oh,
I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately.
Okay. Well, someone let us know in the comments below, because that's good. I want to be correct. Will you play as a robot whose like spacecraft just crash landed into like this unknown frozen planet, and it was just you and your partner, who is also a robot. They've gone missing. So you basically like in the demo, you're trying to get off the ship, but there's like scary monsters on the ship that are very alarming, or like they scared the crap out of me, because you can't entirely tell what they are, because you don't get like any good close-ups, because for the most part the game takes place from like this like top-down perspective, and they're very shaky, and they scream, and sometimes they come back to life. Spoiler alert! And it's very much like a Resident Evil game in the fact that like there's like items that you need to combine together to solve puzzles, and there's notes that you have to read that might have blood smeared over like part of the note. You can't like fully read it.
Oh, no.
It's really just not a game for me.
No, and like ammo, like you have to like make sure that you preserve your ammo, and it's just like, and the sound design is, I loved every bit of it. My only concern is like how well it will translate to Switch when it actually releases on that. I'm not too worried about that necessarily, as it like doesn't look like the most graphically taxing game, but the demo has some fun twists. So if anybody that's watching this is interested, go give the demo a shot on Steam. It only took me about like 20 minutes to get through, and I really loved it. Like this is a day one purchase for me now. And I think
nice.
I think I actually heard about this from Liam Richardson, who used to work for Push Square and did like videos. He went to PAX East a few months ago, I guess, and I'm pretty sure he talked about it there, and that's how I found out about it originally. But yeah, I'm super stoked for this game. It's totally up my alley. I love stuff like Alien Isolation, but Alien Isolation gets too scary for me, because it gets like it's first person, and the xenomorph is like stalking you all the time. And this game looks like it gives you moments to breathe, and I appreciate that.
It reminds me actually of another game that is not on my list, but I think deserves a shout out, which is Demon School.
Okay.
Which is the new game from Necrosoft. And it looks like a DS game.
Oh.
And I think Signalis has the same vibe. So like DS games, like a lot of them look terrible, but if you imagine like Ghost Trick or something like that, they have a very specific like really detailed pixel art sort of style that I think Signalis and Demon School are both sort of aping. It's like, you know, games will be like obsessed with like a NES aesthetic for like a few years, and then they'll move on to like an N64 aesthetic. And so now we're getting nostalgia for like DS games, which I think is really cool, because I have that. So yeah, I'm excited for us to be nostalgic for a different type of
nostalgic
game.
for the Switch one day.
Oh my goodness!
Day,
Oh my god!
Like 20 years from now.
You remember with the Switch? Yeah, those were the good old times.
Do you remember how the games looked? Oh, so weird.
That sounds terrifying. I don't know how you people still play those things. Gosh,
oh, yeah, it's so hard.
Hurt my eyes.
Well, my second game is, well, I have a couple, so I hope I don't take one that Kate is going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about a game called The Plucky Squire.
Ooh, yeah. Good
choice. Oh my god, this game looks absolutely fantastic. So the game starts out with, like, you see this book, and in this book there is the Plucky Squire, who you play as, and, you know, he runs around in this book, and it just looks really gorgeous already there. I love, like, how around the book there's, like, stuff, and it looks like there's a lot of different elements, lots of interesting characters, different ways to fight. You see this person with a sword, but you also see him boxing, like as you know, Punch Out. It looks really interesting. But then, around like 50 minutes into the trailer, he goes to the side of the book, and then he just jumps out of the book, and suddenly he's in beautiful 3D in this gorgeous room, like this children's room. And it's just, we don't see a lot of like that. We just see he jumps out, and that will probably also have a big aspect of the game. We see a little bit of gameplay of him running around. It looks really good. But then you can also see him running on a cup. It's bursting with like charm, personality, and looks really original. Looks really like, it reminds me a lot of It Takes Two. which I love that game. So I'm just really excited to see how this game will work, and I'm also I hope this game will work run fairly well on Nintendo Switch, because it could look like a game that could use a lot of power. So we'll see, but it looks really promising, and I can't. This is I need to play this when it comes out. It looks really good.
And it's by a new studio. That's been founded by James Turner, the art director from Sword and Shield, Pokemon. Sword and Shield, I should have said.
Right.
Whoa!
He invented the ice cream Pokemon, among others. And he, for a long time, maybe still was something like the only English artist on Pokemon or something like that. So he was a big deal. It was very cool. It was his childhood dream to work for Pokemon, and then he did. And so, finding out that not only did he leave Game Freak, he started his own studio and made a new game, is wow, this must be something really special. Wow. He was basically working his dream job.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think people do, whenever someone leaves a big job like that, they're always why would you do that? I would never have left that, but so that's a really good perspective to have, though, is that this you must really believe in this project, and because it's all the marbles are kind of invested in this now, I guess, in a way. So,
but it makes me wonder how long he's not been at Pokemon, because I didn't know he'd left. I don't know if anybody knew that he'd left. It was just he left and now he made this. So either he was making this in his free time, or he was keeping it a secret.
Dun, 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 dun.
Which is fine. You're allowed to do that, I think. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to just suddenly find out that this person that you think is a neat artist is actually now making his own very, very cool stuff.
Well, Kate, we need to hear your final game.
All right. Okay.
That's true.
So my second game, it was hard to decide, because I'd actually forgotten that the Plucky Squire existed. I missed the Devolver Showcase, and I kept meaning to watch the trailer because everyone kept going on about how good it was. So I'm glad you picked that. But I, again, pretty much only watched the Wholesome Direct. So this one is another one that I think was on the Wholesome Direct. And it's one of my pet indie projects, which is not to say that I'm working on it. But every now and again, an indie game comes up, and I'm like, I love it. I want to write about it as much as possible. And I have a little stable of them right now. And this is one of them. I've done a couple of exclusives on it already.
I'm dying. What's the game, Kate?
And the game, drumroll, please.
I'm just eating this up.
Those were terrible drum rolls. The game is called Moonstone Island.
Ooh.
I just think that it's a really unique mixture of stuff.
Oh, I just saw your...
Yeah?
Yeah, you just did an exclusive on this the other day, right? I
just did an exclusive, yeah. So it's sort of got a Minish Cap look to it. That sort of cute. Quite simple, top-down, beautiful...
I'm a sucker for pixel
world. Art. Yeah. It's got really nice pixel art, because I think one of the pixel artists is, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Kokefi?
Okay.
Kochefi? I don't know. Who's a really, really good pixel artist who's working on their own projects as well. So that's really cool. That the world and everything is by this pixel artist that I already liked. It's got elements of a lot of different games, not in a we're copying this game way, more in a just picking inspirations here and there. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of Stardew, because there's this farming mechanic. It's got deck building, so a little bit Slay the Spire-ish. It's got flying around, you go on a little broomstick. I think there's a little bit of dungeon crawling. There's alchemy, you can make your own potions. I think there's dating as well. So there's a lot going on. And I said this with Puff Bells as well, that I get a little bit anxious when there's a lot going on. But so far, from everything I've seen of the game, it looks like it's working really well. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's going to be really fun to play. I think it's slightly procedurally generated as well, maybe. So, everyone's game is going to be slightly different. It's set on these islands in the sky, so those are the things that I think are procedurally generated. So your islands will be different to my islands, and if I play the game again, the islands will be different again, maybe.
That's cool.
Yeah. I forgot to mention, but it also has a sort of Pokemon aspect to it, in that you can collect these spirits. And each one is like a really wacky design. So like my favorite that I know about is a fishbowl with legs, and he's called Fishbow, and I love him.
The names are
and
precious.
Everything is a pun as well.
Yeah.
So,
I see the Capacity is like, I think it has lightning as an element too. That's
can
that's
you imagine
cute.
that being your job, just to come up with puns? Incredible.
I mean, that kind of
is
is your job, actually,
Yeah,
isn't it? In
true.
a way, like that's one of your best features, Kate, is that you're just fantastic with puns.
Thank you.
You know, going back on that, kind of what you said too about this game has a lot going for it, or a lot of things going on. I mean, I suppose anybody can kind of fake anything with like a vertical slice or something, but it looks like a lot of the features are pretty far along, at least in this game, or at least they have a lot of it under control. Like there's even like this potion mixing element too that looks like really fun. And then I noticed too, just before I forget, the like when you go to save like for the day or like write in your diary, the artwork that pops up on screen looks like it was inspired by like the lo-fi beats to study and relax too.
Absolutely,
And I love, I appreciate that little nod so much. It's really cool to see that in a game. Well, I was genuinely surprised by all of these games, and I'm so glad that you sent trailers so that way I can include all of them in the videos. We'll leave links in the description down below so you can find more details about all the games that we talked about here. In case if none of these games pique your fancy, we're just going to quick throw out 3 more games that we're excited for that maybe we just didn't have time to talk about because we've already talked for way longer than we thought. So we'll call these honorable mentions. And I guess I'll start for fun. There's this game I think falls into the honorable mention category because it actually hasn't been announced for Switch yet. It is an indie, so I feel like it probably just will happen at some point.
Yeah.
But this game is called Goodbye World. It's kind of like a narrative-driven, like puzzle platformer game where you play as these game devs trying to just get by in a world where making art is hard.
Yeah.
And it also has a demo on Steam. And so, yeah, go check it out. It looks really cute, but also it's probably going to make you cry. I can't confirm that, but it looks really sad. So just
I'm like,
be
are you
ready.
sure that's a game and not just some game devs being like, the world is really hard?
It is. Goodbye World is also a Porter Robinson song. I don't think that's a connection, but I just have to drop that because somebody will be happy that I said it. But what about you, Kate? What would you like to throw out there?
It was announced last night, so I didn't actually see it get announced, but I found out this morning. Dragon's Dogma 2 will it come to the Switch? Probably not, but Dragon's Dogma 1 is on the Switch, and that's a good reason for you to play it. Go play Dragon's Dogma. It's really good.
I've always heard such good things about it because it's kind of like it's a third-person like fantasy RPG, right? Is that the
Yeah. What if Dark Souls was a bit janky? Well, no, but Dark Souls is janky. Yeah.
So do you hope Dragon's Dogma 2 is also janky?
Lovably so, yeah.
Good. What about you, Felix? What do you got?
It's the little gator game, and basically just like a little thing running around on an island, and it's like your kid who wants to like help your big sister or something. You want to have her play along, so you're like doing cool stuff, and it just looks really cute. Really excited to see when it comes out.
That's sweet. And it is Switch confirmed. Good deal.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Love it. Unlike R2 picks, which are like, who knows?
It's a real gamble on those, but this people know. They can be excited about this and not have to worry.
Yeah, please go look this game up. It looks really fun.
Well, of course, those are our picks for the No Direct, No Problem 2022 showcase. Let us know if you've heard of any of these games before, or if any of them really look like something that you'd be interested in, or even just let us know in the comments below something that you saw in one of the showcases that happened that isn't getting talked about that you would love to shine a spotlight on. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button, even though a Nintendo Direct didn't happen, because you know what? pretty sure another Direct is going to happen at some point. We just don't know when. And if you're subscribed, you'll know about it because we're going to tell you. So don't sweat it. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Kate and Felix, for joining me in this chat. It was great having you here.
No problem.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Stay safe out there, everyone, and we will see you all next time.
Dragon's Dogma 2.